Hey Scott,
Hey,
how's it going?
good. Thanks.
All right, Jamie, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing relatively well, Andy. You know, it smells like there's a campfire
Oh, that's right, yeah.
outside of my house because we're starting to get I guess the winds bringing what's happening in LA down to these parts. So it's kind of strange, but hopefully if you don't hear me choking and gagging before the webinar's done, I'm okay.
Well, that's good to hear, Jamie. Not that you're choking and gagging, but I don't know if you saw, Marissa just put something up there that the news said there's a fire just 20 miles away from her house, so that's not far from you.
Man, I wouldn't doubt it with these
Yeah.
winds, crazy stuff going on right now. So
All right.
hopefully, guys.
Yeah, well, man, yeah. We'll keep an eye out on it. We'll get through this, and then you can run for cover, all
Yeah,
right? All right, guys. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us today for this edition of the Trading Studio with myself and Jamie. Appreciate everybody taking some time out of their day to stop in here. Got some good stuff for you once again. I think you're going to be excited. Let's just dive right into it and get through the disclaimer first. We'll do this rather quickly. Guys, this is for, wait, hold on just one second. All right, educational purposes only. Anything you see in here, guys, is not to be construed as investment advice. If that's what you're looking for, please seek out a registered investor, a stockbroker. But we're gonna have some fun anyway, and you're gonna show you some really cool stuff that can help you. And I love it. I always love it when we have a majority. Don't get me wrong. I love the subscribers too, and I got a treat for you today. But when we have a good majority of here that's kicking the tires, they're not subscribers because I got some great stuff to show you, and I'm sure Jamie does too. So we're going to take care of everybody today, a little bit for everybody. And one thing, especially for the people who are kicking the tires, the regulars, they know this. We have 5-star support, education, and training here at Trade Ideas. And what does that mean? It means you are buying a very powerful software. And even though it's powerful, at times it can feel a little bit daunting, but it's very intuitive, and we help you to understand it. And the way we do that, guys, we offer support throughout the week in the form of webinars like you're watching here today. We got one every day of the week. Friday is a very special one because it's a 3-hour-long support webinar. We will be having one tomorrow. And even if you are not a subscriber, you are welcome to come to that, and you learn a lot more about our product. Other than that, we have them throughout the week. It's a combination of myself, Jamie, and Steve. Usually we throw a treat in for you on Wednesdays for a demo of some features coming down the road, and it's a great Q&A session as well. And let's not forget the traders room. It's a daily room, open basically about 7 hours a day. It opens up 30 minutes before the market opens, moderated by Barry, a professional trader. If you haven't gotten in there, guys, get in there. It's a great place to hang out, about 500 plus traders sharing ideas, and you get to watch over the shoulder and see our software and watch Barry navigate the market using our software while he calls out his trades. So great hangout, get in there. And one last thing, when you sign up for Trade Ideas, you get a one-on-one hour of power training for free. This is a $99 value, and it works for either standard or premium, doesn't matter. So, you know, if you sign up for 1 month on standard, it's $99. You're basically getting that back in a one-on-one session with myself, Jamie, Steve, or Sean. All professional traders and knowledgeable about the product. So many guys come in, we may spend 30 minutes going over the software, and then they want to know more about strategic trading, and you know, ask me questions, or Jamie, whoever that may go, you know, because we've all been there, and we can help guide you down the right paths of to success when it comes to trading, as well as the software. All right, let's take a look at our, before we do, there's just one last thing here. We do have a product called our Brokerage Plus. What is Brokerage Plus? Well, it's a way to automate your strategies and trade them via interactive brokers. Okay, this has been in beta for a while, and it's still in beta. This is something you definitely want to get right before you make a production version. So if you have premium version, you have to have premium. You can take your strategies and automate them through Interactive Brokers. If you want more information, it's trade-ideas.com/beta. Just check it out. It's a pretty cool little tool. All right, the agenda for today. We're going to talk about the market recap. Not spend a lot of time on that. Holly recap, and then we're going to show you build your own channel / layout. A lot of your regulars on here, this is not going to be anything new for you, but a lot of people want to basically, when I do my one-on-one sessions, they want to get into the channels and basically reconfigure them to their own liking. Well, you can't do that inside our channels, but you can build your own channel, which is essentially just a layout. But I will show you, how you can do that because there's one I'm working on that it's going to be a Bitcoin channel. So anyway, I'll show you guys that. Very cool alert I've been working on this week called shorting junk. Okay, it's a short strategy. Junk referring to stocks, 50 cents to, I think, $3.80 is my top price on that. Pretty cool. I will share that with you. We will take a look at the configuration, and we'll also take a look at the back testing on this to see how well it back tested. And then if we have time, guys, we'll jump into some chart requests. But let me back out of this for now and open the daily chart if I can.
Andy, did I just hear you use the B word?
B word as a Bitcoin, yeah. Jamie, anytime, Jamie's gonna perk his ears up anytime he hears the word Bitcoin. Jamie and Dan, I think it was mostly Jamie, but we're fortunate to do a little mining back in the day and sitting on a little Bitcoin. So if you follow Jamie on Twitter, I'm sure you know all about it, or Dan as far as that goes. But so anyway, yeah, when we come to that session, there are stocks out there related to the Bitcoin, and it's mostly to blockchain. But we'll I'll share that with you if you guys want it, and as we build a little channel for Bitcoin stocks. But all right, let's go back into the spiders here. Boy, it was setting up today for an interesting setup, I should say, just here in the spiders. You've had a nice run, obviously, in the market. We had 3 days of pullback, and like any strong chart pattern will look, this can be a very explosive pattern. So this had the potential today to be a big move, although it kind of petered out. It kind of midpoint of the day. Let's take a look at the intraday real quick. You can kind of see there on the 15-minute chart, it was just going pretty well, and then it just kind of midday petered out and just kind of gave up. So not a real big move in the spiders, 0.3%. So that's nothing to write home about. But nonetheless, it's still a very bullish chart, guys. We'll see what happens from here. I know Steve's been talking about some red flags, and obviously I was seeing some red flags, especially in the NASDAQ. You're starting to get these long candles, which can, definitely kind of point to some volatility potentially coming into the market. We'll see what happens. It's obviously fighting back right now, and like I mentioned in Steve's webinar on Tuesday, I mean, you normally don't see a lot of big, huge sell-offs during this time of year, but that doesn't mean a thing. This has been unlike any market that I've seen over the last 8 years, so nothing surprises me anymore. But historically, this is a time where the volume will eventually start to maybe die out, and you just kind of get the continued melt up, until the end of the year. But we'll see what happens. Nonetheless, we're still kind of in a downtrend here on the Qs. If you look over the last week, you can see a potential, channel developing here. Let's just mark this up real quick with a couple of trend lines, and one could say, hey, You get above this right here, it's definitely a, a pretty decent trend line for the last week, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. But if you do have a lower high, or I should say a high, a lower low, what am I trying to say here, lower high. A lower high, and we roll back over. This could be the start of a potential trend. We'll see what happens. Really, the spiders don't look as bad as the Qs, but nonetheless, I would definitely, the Qs, if anybody's going to lead us potentially down, you can kind of see a downtrend over the last week in the diamonds. But if those trends are broken, we could be off to the races again. So, Jamie, I don't have IWM is lagging, obviously showing some more weakness in the IWM. But as far as the spiders go and the overall market, everything's still intact. Just not a whole lot to discuss here. I would love to see just being a trader, you always want to see kind of a washout in the market, a nice pullback, down to the maybe some moving averages or a trend, but just not up until this time. We're just not seeing that.
Pretty much. A little digestion here.
Yeah, and we could chop along sideways, but I think that's enough of the overall market. It's been a broken record for a while. So a couple of good trades in Holly today, Jamie. The risk on was doing great this morning, and I was surprised to see it pull back like it did, but at the same time that kind of was, it made me not surprised when the market could no longer went higher and kind of rolled over and kind of petered out there at the end.
Yeah, and I was a little surprised too to not see Holly's risk on mode hold up a little bit better than it did. It was down slightly. Of course, I don't know if the users are seeing it or if it's just on my version, but I'll point it out when we flip over to my desktop. There's an
the RGR there, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that's looking at an aftermarket price, which it's not supposed to look at aftermarket. It's supposed to look at only the session and where the stock closed the official session. So that should actually be plus 25 cents in the risk on column for RGR instead of negative 365, which risk on still would have finished negative, but it was kind of like there was a little decoupling today because we saw what the markets did, and then Holly just, it happens sometimes, things don't follow through, and, looking at float on, what does that tell us right off the bat? We know what float on is. It's the low floating stocks, right? So bigger names are the ones that had the finishing, had the strength to stay up today, whereas, the low floaters pulled back pretty severely.
I mean, not a bad day at all. Risk off, 76 cents on a day. The market was up. Spiders up 0.3%. So it's a couple of really good, risk off trades. And just to remind everybody, anytime we publish any data or anything based on our AI, we always referring to risk off, which is Holly's exit strategies. Risk on just basically gives you an idea of what the stocks did. If you held them to the close of the day, and that is skewed. Obviously, what Jamie was talking about, if you see that $4.61 there, that's not real because this was after hours trading. And if I put up RGR and we look at after hours, you're going to see that there was a drop off in that stock. And I guess, I don't know if it was earnings. No, earnings is not coming up. No, I'm not sure where earnings is. I don't know. I'm not showing an earnings date for this.
Yeah, I don't know why it plunged out like that, but sure it's probably out by now.
All right, Jamie. Well, if you would like to take over and just go over a couple of stocks for them.
No problem. Let me grab the baton here. And hopefully you should be seeing my screen in just 1 second.
All right, I see it.
Good to go? Okay.
Yep.
All righty. Okay, so of course, as always, got the daily over here. We got the 5-minute intraday up here. And of course, Holly came to the party today with 8 strategies, right? And we can see 3 of those were shorts. Of course, only 1 short got any action today. of course, it was Square. And, you know, Square's had a huge run, been taking a pullback of its own here lately, you know, pulling back to this little area of what looks like support here and turning back up. But today, Holly found a real good opportunity on Square on the short side today. Now, let's see here. Holly on Square, why did she get out? Timed exit. Okay. One of the reasons why Holly can get out is she stayed in at the duration. You know, we've got the stop loss, profit target, time hold. This one went the duration. Look at downward dog, was designed around an hour hold time. So we can see here, now Andy, I'm looking at risk on this one, okay, and risk off. So Holly took 9 cents on the timed exit, right? So 38.93, and then right here is where she plugged out.
You're right. There's no way that should be.
Took her dime. So it's actually lower, okay? So we're seeing this on several cells because this would not be a negative number either.
That would explain why we all of a sudden took a dive. There may be something with our risk on today, so we'll...
Yeah, so what we're seeing here is we're seeing numbers that should be positive showing up as negative. So, you know, at first I thought it was just RGR because of the largeness, the size of it. But now I'm looking at SQ and I'm seeing the same thing. So in essence, what that's telling me is this is by far and away not an accurate risk on tabulation, all right? Because this should be, you know, we're lower than the entry price, so it should be a positive value. But the bottom line is this. If 38.93 was our entry, and this is why I like this column so much, because max profit, there was at least 26 cents in that trade today, right, in this off mode, whereas between 9 and 7 here, you know, this should be different, for lack of a better description. And then, of course, what I also like to point out here lately is even on a day like today, there was profit opportunity in all of these stocks with the exception of Boozy. It was the only one that got the hard stop here. And we can see, boy, chasing up there, then whipsaw back down. You know, and of course, anytime we see something like this, we have to, even though it's coming to us from Holly, you know, we have to abide by charts that make us comfortable, right? So Holly's just seeing things from a statistical basis. You know, not saying that you couldn't have traded that, but I think a lot of people would have given a little bit of pause there. So let's just take a look at, of course, Riot. This thing's been going crazy because not too long ago, they added the word blockchain to their name. And of course, maybe they are involved a little bit in the business, but this thing's just been all over the place as of late. So Holly does give a good, you know, pretty clean entry signal here. And you know what, Andy, this chart looks just like a lot of other charts that I've seen today where we did get a little push, right? There's plenty of time to take a little bit off the table there. But as far as trying to hold it, get that continuation, a lot of these guys were folding back over today. And, you know, of course, as always, you've got your version of the high volume tickers. I've got my little version. And of course, there's always a couple of nuggets that come out of there as well. But for the most part, we're seeing very similar action today. So a little bit of money on the table, and Riot was up a maximum of 81 cents. And of course, once we get into a big mover like this, and especially in this type of action, wherever you feel comfortable, of course, the rule of thumb, common sense, tells us, okay, once we get into something like this and it starts going our way, set the expectations. And I'm glad I just reminded myself expectations, because after we get done with this trade, I'm going to backtrack and show you guys what the compare count readings were. Of course, if we're in that trade, we're thinking to ourselves, well, we're here, what could the top be? Well, magically, at the top of this candle or at the top of this body. And that is where it happened to peter out today. Of course, my eyes go here as well, but once the top is put in with this this wick right here and we get this type of action, that's typically, typically a sign that the tide is beginning to turn. But plenty of time to make your decision. 5-minute candles up here, even with the wicks. Plenty of time to take half off the table, put a stop loss in for the other half, which case you're ensuring that you're still making money on the trade and taking a little bit of risk in case it does continue. And we've seen plenty of those as of late. But before we get on to the next trade here, want to take a pause to show everybody. And this is another little odd thing because once again, I think Holly was in a lot of the smaller float stocks today.
Yes.
Well, 15 minutes into the open, everybody knows that's familiar with my little methodology here. I like to see what the big boys are up to, and we use these compare count windows and take their readings after the first 15 minutes to kind of give us an idea of what the institutions might be up to. So after that 15-minute period on my big caps over here, companies capitalized above $4 and $5.4 billion. We had a pretty significant bias today of 58%. Of course, anything under 55, be a little bit more cautious. When we start getting over 55, between 55 and 60, that's going to be a strong bias. Anything over 60 is going to be an above average bias. So we had some nice strong 58% right off the bat, which tells me, okay, there will be some upside opportunity here today in the overall market. Of course, every stock's a little bit different. And of course, we want to pay attention to where we received these ratings. So once again, 5-minute candles here, 5, 10, 15. Of course, this little guy has to close. So we'd be getting this information right about the time that the fourth 5-minute candle starts. And of course, showing an upside bias on the big boys right here, and then look what happens shortly after. We flirt with this little area a little bit, take a wick down, and then just motor on up. So, as always, these things are pretty good for overall market move. Then, of course, Holly being in some of the thinner ones today and noticing that we're having some glitches here, I don't know off the top of my head how many of these negative values should actually be positive. But hey, rest assured, we're going to find that out as soon as this little show is over. I've got my own curiosity peek. So, nice advance warning, nice informational edge that the compare count windows provided to us today. Hey, they're doing a lot of buying, a lot more buying than normal. Heavy volume on the opening 15-minute level, and what you see is what is the result of that. What we're doing in that 15-minute period is trying to track the institutions, figure out where the bias is, and today was a perfect example of that. And just looking at the question, and yes, if you're referring, Farhad, to the compare count windows, I'll be more than happy to drop those into the chat area before we're done here so that anybody that is currently a subscriber can load that cloud link up. No problem.
And correct, you can get that with the standard. Okay, that's not part of the premium package.
True. Okay, yeah. So next on the block here was the RGR, and at first glance it might look a little bit thin, but when we're looking at these bars here, there's 10,000 shares, 1,000 shares. So not the most liquid stock, but probably something that you could get a pretty decent fill in because these candles aren't that big. And if they're squeezing off a few thousand, 5,000 shares, it's a totally tradable stock. What did we kick out today? 266 on Ruger. And of course, Holly calls the play right here, 55.65. Plucks 55 cents out in risk off mode. Looked like a pretty good exit right up there, Andy. Mm-hmm. Can't really get any better than that. Just happened to coincide with the timed exit, right?
Yes.
And then pretty much just backed off right after that. Of course, if we take a look at the long term, of course, butting right up to that wick there, stretching all the way back to here, lining up perfectly with what we have here. So, little RGR might decide it wants to consolidate a little further sideways here and then slowly attack that line, or who knows. Depending on the interest, we might get a penetration into this area tomorrow, so might be one to keep an eye on. But then again, it might have met its match here at the resistance level, and it might take a little break for a bit.
And then plus we got the after hour. I'm not sure what news brought that down. Yeah.
Well, of course, I'm singing that song and dance, but at the same time, I forgot already about what's happening here. Well, obviously there's some selling going on post-market. Now, keep in mind it's only 6,000 shares, but I mean, wow.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
We can't see it over here, but pretty much wipes out all of today's gains and then some. So maybe this is valid. Maybe it's just somebody wanted out. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we can see here, as far as Holly goes, if we don't know if some of these figures might be accurate or not, but we had a stop out down here. Risk off 25 cents. Had we stayed in, assuming that's accurate, would have suffered a little bit more. But that's pretty much it from Holly today.
Yeah, but like I said, once again, not bad on the risk off, and risk on is yet to be determined. We will submit a couple of these to. We've already submitted the one to Brad, obviously the one that Ruger there. But I'm concerned now about the SQ, was it? Yeah, where that shouldn't have been. And then look, now the SQ risk on went to -18. Wasn't that like -12 earlier? Just I don't know.
What?
It's getting worse by the minute.
I don't know. Brad, our chief technical officer, I made him aware of this.
Okay.
So they're on it.
Okay.
This
doesn't happen. This doesn't happen very much at all. So we'll be on it, and it'll be straightened out tomorrow.
Glitches are few and far between. Okay, Andy, before I hand it back over to you, I will say that, you and I like the volume, right? So Holly, had her day. But then there were other things going up that weren't necessarily being triggered by Holly. But, of course, you like your high volume. I like my high volume. And, of course, with this little guy today on the turbo up, no resistance, we did have some nice range breaks, because the nice thing about those guys is that they can occur any time of the day. So let's see here what I'm going to do. PH was coming through with some nice signals. I think it came through a little bit earlier. Yeah, there we go. So that one was right about here. We can see definitely a buyer in PH, which is a very liquid stock. Traded about almost quite 1 million shares today, kept the high relative volume all day. So we can see once we come up here and start doing a little sideways action, and I want to see was that the first hit? I'm pretty sure that it was. The volume didn't really kick up, and it didn't get into all-time high territory until we penetrated these levels, because that's one of the criteria, is it needs to be in blue sky. So after we got this little flattening out area right here, as it was taking this nice little punch up here, we would have gotten alerted to the fact that A, the volume is extremely high, and it is now in blue sky territory. That's what the second part of this title means. No resistance, meaning, well, we got a nice little snuggly pattern here with low risk to get us into the trade. And of course, it doesn't just blast off through the stratosphere, but hey, positive's positive. Sideways dance for a large portion of the day, and this one kind of set up not a whole lot left there at the close, right? If we had a little bit more time in the day, if this would have happened a little bit earlier, it might have been different, depending on if you're a wick or a body guy. We could always move the goalpost a little bit. Don't really recommend doing that a whole lot. But PH was one of the only ones that came through with volume that looked really tight, low risk versus high reward. There were two more that came through this window today, IBKR. Good old Interactive Brokers, the guys that we're currently fashioning the Brokerage Plus methodology, or the Brokerage Plus module for. But once again, looks very similar to some of the Holly trades. We get the nice pop up here, and if you didn't take those cookies, there were just crumbs when he came back around. But keep in mind, once we get into the money and we're thinking about satisfying our demons, which are there with us every day, regardless of how long you've been in the chair. Fear sits on one side, greed on the other. As long as we feed them a little bit, then we can cohabitate, right? So, whether it's this trade or any other trade, what do? We take half off. We set stop loss for break even on the other half. That way we've ensured that we're locking in that profit. If we get the continuation, great. If we don't, no harm, no foul. We accepted more risk. It didn't pay off, but we minimized it. And the last one, I think, was HUBB. And I'll get to your question here in just a little bit, Ralph. So HUBB doesn't take a chart expert, technical expert, to identify when these range breaks are occurring, right? So we can see the first one, very clearly identifiable. Clearly there's a buyer. Takes a breather. Hugs, right underneath that line, cracks back up here. We get the signal coming through, high volume, even though it might not look like it down here. That's the value of having these tickers and top list and alert windows telling us, hey, it wouldn't be coming through here if the volume wasn't kicking already. Makes my life, makes anybody else's life a lot easier, because then all you have to do is focus on the pattern. Is the pattern intact? Is the risk acceptable? Yeah, okay, we'll put the trade on. If the risk is not in place, you pass. Just like the professional poker player who's folding 80% of the time. Yeah, so Ted, these are all coming through this window right here, which I will also share with the group when we're about to wrap up here. All right, so the PH, the IBK, the HUBB, that's about all I had coming through my stuff, Andy, and I'm sure you probably had some other ones as well.
Yeah, yes, I definitely had a few, and I'll definitely answer Emmanuel's question, because we do get this a lot. If you want to, pass it back to me, are you all done, or?
Yeah. Hold on.
Okay, that'd be great.
I'll get it right back over to you. There you go.
Yes, Emmanuel, and this is, like I said, it's a popular question. Okay, he's basically saying, do we have alerts that will show good swing trade candidates, because he doesn't have a lot of free time, during market hours. Okay, we have a lot of people that do have jobs, and they may only have 2, 3, 4 hours out of the day to devote to finding opportunity and looking for trades. And what the regulars in here know that I use this extreme volume high-low pro a lot, because I find incredible multi-day holds in there. And what I really love about it, it's a high ticker. So when you have a high ticker, it's going to show you the levels of resistance. So I am not saying, this Cure, this QURE, is a great candidate for a multi-day move, but it's showing some of the characteristics, because you have a stock you can see coming through my extreme volume high-low ticker, doing incredible, 10 times normal 1-minute volume. You can see here 22 times 5-minute volume coming through several times throughout the day. All right, so what you have here, you have a stock that's breaking out. You can see the resistance line that our technology will draw for you. Now, really the next level, if you don't count this wick, I guess you could say right here is your potential next level of resistance. So you can trade this as a momentum scanner, of course, and day trade these ideas, but you can get some incredible looks at stocks that may be showing signs of a start of a move that may continue going for several days. And when you see them, breaking out now, this needs to clear, I think, a little bit higher for me to get, too excited about. But you have a nice resistance level. So your risk reward, so if this were to open up, tomorrow above this level, it would be a nice opportunity maybe to take a chance on a swing trade using basically coming back down in this range as a stop, Now, I can't spend a lot of time on this because I have more stuff to present, Emmanuel, but I just wanted to show you, ways where you can use, our software. Here's another beautiful one. This MRNS. There you go. Came through this morning right here at the breakout, right at our resistance line. You could have nabbed some of that today and, up basically 75 cents on the $8 stock, and look at this breakout. You know, this has the potential for a move to $10 all over it. Huge volume. Look at that volume bar. Look at the relative volume today, 13,000. So yes, to answer your question, you can use our technology, and this is just a momentum scan. You know, we have others like the trend change that will show you stocks. I'm not going to get into that, but man, look at this opportunity that if you don't have trade ideas, you have no idea, you know, how this may potentially look. Obviously, you may have caught it on some chat or something like that, but that is just textbook breakout right there on huge volume. And if you have our software, you're seeing this at $7.91 today, $7.91. And look how late in the day it is. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. All right. Great. I'm glad you got it, Emmanuel. All right, guys. Real quickly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time but we have several channels over here, especially for you new guys, where when you first get the software, you're probably going to open up here in the multi-media, I'm so sorry, the social media. And these are called channels. Okay, these are pre-configured alerts and scans that are basically you have access to right away. And a lot of people want to come in here and they want to try to, you know, configure these to their parameters, and they want to save them as a channel. You can't. These are preset. These are ours, and you cannot change these. But you can make them your own and make your own layout. And I'm using an example as a channel here because there's ways you can create your own channel. So let's say you like this volume radar and you want to bring it over and make it your own. Well, all you really have to do is right-click, go to Save or Share to Cloud, and just click on Save. And now you have a copy of that saved in our cloud, right, where you can come over and start working on your own channel or layout, whatever you want to call it. But the reason I brought this up, and I kind of wanted to hit on this topic, is because Bitcoin and blockchain is very popular right now. So I've been working on, just real briefly, a Bitcoin channel. So let's see what I've done. Now remember, you have to save this to your own cloud or on your server. So I'm going to go to Load Layout. I'm going to find my Bitcoin channel, and I'm going to open it up. So if you look in here, you're going to see some Bitcoin or blockchain related stocks. Okay, you got NVIDIA, Square, Overstock, to name a few. This LTC really shouldn't get in there. It's actually, there's an LTC, I think, that trades on the Canadian exchange. I think it's Litecoin, but for some reason, there's also an LTC on our exchange, and it's LTC property. So I got to fix that. But anyway, so I took that volume radar, okay, and all I have to do is point the channel or this alert to a symbol list that I created calling it Bitcoin. It's very easy to do. I'm not going to go into detail how you create a symbol list. I just don't have the time today. But now I have this volume radar that I took from the social media channel, I believe, and I brought it over here, and now I have it following only the Bitcoin stocks. All right, and there's several in here to make this really work properly. You need to have a feed from the Canadian exchanges and the OTC, and we will talk about if we do create a Bitcoin channel. We'll have those feeds, I would think, into this channel anyway, so you would be able to follow it. But this is one that I created on my own. This is what I call an SMA tracker, okay? It's a top list. So let's take a look at the configuration. There's really nothing to it because all you're really doing is there's no filters. Everything is in the columns, okay? So if I go to my columns over here, you will see all the columns I added to this top list. So if I didn't have a symbol list in here pointed, all right, and I was just picking it up on all these exchanges, you know, this would be a huge top list. But what you can do, and the reason I wanted to show you this guy, I created this for fund managers. They gave me a list of their portfolio stocks, and they wanted me to show them a way where they can track their portfolio. And I said, well, I am just going to build an SMA tracker, all right, and what it shows here, remember there's no filters, okay, so it's going to pick up every stock that's in your symbol list, okay. Filters are what we use to build our parameters for those who are new in here. So if you don't have any filters, all right, and you have this top list pointed toward your symbol list, it's going to pick up every stock in here and basically just give you a scan, a look of where, in this case, it would be trading on its 8-day moving average, its 20-day moving average, its 50-day moving average, its 200-day moving average. So if you wanted to, and these are interchangeable, if you want to find out which stocks are greatest above its 200-day, you just double click on that column. Let's say I want to see which stock has moved, well, I can already see it in here, it's not going to change much, on the 8-day. Let's look in the last, which is greatest above its 20-day moving average. Wow, MARA's had a nice move there in the last 20 days. So just incredible use of our technology, guys. If you have a list, a lot of people have a favorite list of stocks they like to follow. So if you have 30, you can drop them in this SMA tracker, and I'll share this for those guys who may want this. It's a great way just to get a quick scan of all of your stocks, you know, in where they, you know, may fall without even looking at a chart. I get to where I can look at this thing and almost picture a chart perfectly in my head just by how far it's away from its 8-day, 20-day, 50-day, and you will too. It's you know, overstock. I know, wow, this is well above its 200-day moving average, 91% higher, but wow, it's getting hit the last few days. I don't need to see a chart that, no, this is having a big drawdown here in the last few days, and there you see it. So let's see what my time is. I got 15 minutes here. Yeah, I'm going to have to dive into the next one. But anyway, this is a way where you can build, this looks very similar to our channels. So you can build your own little channel and just save it. Remember, you got to save it under your server or in your cloud, whatever you want to do it. You cannot alter these channels. So just a way, if you don't want to build a whole big layout, where you can build your own channels and drop symbol list in there. And this is just a high-low ticker that shows you stocks that are either hitting a high or low on pretty decent volume. See if I can get this thing loaded. Yeah, there you go. So these stocks took off today on the 5-minute. There you go. So get a good look at that. So anyway, a very little handy channel that I built for myself, and who knows, maybe we'll make this one of our channels here in the future for Bitcoin and blockchain related stocks. Because I have a feeling, Jamie, there's probably going to be a few more enter this realm here. Over the next.
So much hype surrounding it. I mean,
oh yeah,
it's like it's the ultimate low float stock. Basically, is why the price is going so crazy. But having said that, you know, we got the CBOE and the CME about to launch futures products. So, you know, love it or hate it, it is becoming mainstream. So you bet your bottom dollar there's going to be companies trying to ride that gravy train. So very good idea creating the Bitcoin channel, Andy. And then on top of that, just so everybody knows what's coming down the pipeline, hopefully by the end of Q1, hopefully even a little bit sooner than that, we will have feeds for the major cryptocurrency exchanges along with the CME and the CBOE. So we'll actually be able to make those products available to our users. Just keep in mind, we can't just add, it'd be nice if we could just plug the feeds in, but guess what? That's a 24/7 market, just like futures. So instead of the servers only, you know, watching 2 hours before and then we shut down 2 hours after and then we do all the computations, this particular cluster of servers is going to have to be running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's a little bit more of an arduous process. But we're on track, and we hope to have it live and open up a whole new asset class to our users.
Yep. And I'm excited about it, Jamie. And I know a lot of other traders are going to be excited about it too. All right, guys. This is a alert that I've been working on. Okay, it's basically called shorting junk, and just a little prelude into this. guys, some of the best traders I know, that's what they do. I mean, they short, and it's not for everybody. And honestly, it wasn't my thing either. You know, I've done a little bit of it in the past, but these guys are really good. And once they get on a stock and they know it's junk, they will just continue to pound on it and add to their position. So, in case some of you may want to, dive into and experiment around with this, I wanted to create you a nice little alert here. So let's take a look. Now, that did take me some time and a lot of work to get this to back test like it did. But let's take a look at the configuration. Okay. Basically, guys, what I'm looking for is a stock that's hitting a new low for today. All right. Let's take a look at the window-specific filters. Hide unused. All right, I played around with the price parameters for a while to get kind of optimized this a little bit. I don't know how I got that float at 899. Basically, it should be 90 million is where the float is, end up being optimized at. But the price is 25 cents to $3.80. Okay. The volume in the 5-minute, this is just, once again, it's an optimized filter, okay, where if the volume in the 5 minutes is greater than basically 1,500% or 15 times normal, it didn't backtest as well, okay? So I use this as a max. Anything doing over that volume, I'm eliminating. Change from the close, it has to be down, change from the open, not the close. It has to be down 1% from where it opened. If you're looking at these little pissant stocks, that's not a lot of movement, but position in the previous day's range, okay, I wanted a max of 99%. So what that is saying, guys, I do not want it above yesterday's highs, okay? If it gets above yesterday's high, I don't want to be shorting it. Change in 5 days, another optimization. If it's gone up over $1.69, I don't want to short it, just an optimization. Consecutive candles here. Once again, I don't have time to get into it. That's another optimization. Here's a big one, change in the last 5 days, okay, a minimum of 35%. So the stock has had to have moved up at least 35% in the last 5 days. And the volume yesterday has to be at least 200% of normal, or basically 2 times normal of yesterday's volume. All right. So those are my filters, all right? So we're looking for stocks basically are cheap that had a big move in the last 5 days, but today it's below yesterday's high and hitting a low 1% below the open. That's the key you need to take away from here. So let's take a look. I wanted to show you one stock, a beautiful trade that came through here this morning, right here, EMHTF. So that went off this morning at 316. You can see that thing just bled all the way down to 280 before it had a bounce. So nice little trade there, you know, enough volume where you can trade it. But let's take a look at the back testing on this one. We're going to back test this strategy. For those of you guys who are new, what I'm doing here, our system has a back tester where it can go through and back test every alert that came through this window over the past 65 days. And it's going to give you the entry and the exit, how much profit you made on each trade. Just incredible stuff. It's just a huge amount of data this thing is going through, and it does it relatively quickly. My time is only 20 minutes. And when I first saw this, I'm like, oh, bum, because Jamie can tell you the same thing too. You know, Jamie, when you do those back tests and then you look and everything happens in the first couple of seconds, and you're like,
oh yeah, you're like, oh, I found gold, and then you're like, it's all coming in 1 minute.
You just can't. Yes, and when I first saw that, I was going, oh, great, these things all fired off in the first 5 seconds, but it's not the case. I went through and looked at a couple of these, and you do have time. Now, you're not going to have time to take every one of them, but it's not a case of them all going off in the first 30 seconds. But I did back test, and you need to jump on these early, because what's happening is, like a case in this one right here, the smart money or whatever, you know, or people taking profit, they can happen pretty quick. All right, so timed exit, basically it's an all-day hold. I got this thing wide open for an all-day hold. Risk management, remember these are very small stocks, so I'm using, plus they've had a big percentage move over the last 5 days, in some cases 200, 300%. So you have to give yourself about an 8%, a stop on something like this, but look at your target is 30%. I'm fine with that, well over a 3-to-1. Advanced, I'm not going to get into that. We are opening it up for the full, 64 days of test here. And let's run, it's a short, right? So we've got to simulate a sell here. And we'll take a look at this back test. For you guys who are kicking the tires, this is very, very powerful stuff. All right, so based on a $5 commission, that's $5 in and $5 out, and slippage of a penny. I got a penny slippage in here. You got over a 64-day period, you had 220 trades that came through this alert. And that's a pretty good sample size. Anytime I get over 100, that's pretty good. So you got 210 trades in here. The profit factor is 2.62. The winning percentage is almost 64%. And the way read this guy, if you invested, $5,000, or it took $5,000 on each trade, in other words, you shorted each trade and put that amount in here, this would be your gain at the end of the 64 days. Okay, your account would be now at 86,945. Factor again commissions and a little bit of slippage. So anyway, I wanted to share this because I wanted to work on something like this because I know a lot of my friends, I wanted to share it with them as well. A couple of the guys that I know that really like to pound on. Because trust me, these guys on something like this, they would take a strategy like this and actually make 10 times as much because they just keep pounding on, when they're right, they just keep pounding on the shorts. In other words, they add to their winners. And you can see that it doesn't look like much on the average winner, 17 cents, and average loser, 11 cents. That doesn't look like a big disparity. But guys, when you're talking about stocks between 25 cents and 380, that's a pretty big move. If you're looking at a $1 stock, 17 cents, it's almost a 20% move. So, if you were looking at big cap stocks and you saw this, I would just brush it aside and say, it's not worth it. But this is a really nice curve, profit curve right there. And
Andy, of course, we're having people want that strategy.
Oh, yeah, so absolutely.
Drop that in the chat.
I am, and I'll also throw something in this. Remember, guys, we've been in a bull market, and this is performing this well. Wait till we get in a bear market, something like this. I'm really excited to how well it would shine. All right, I'm going to do that right now, guys, so let me just go ahead and save and share this to the cloud. And for those guys who are in here for the first time, what we're doing here is I'm actually sharing this alert that I just built with all the subscribers in here that are subscribed to Trade Ideas, and now they will have a copy of this that they could put to work. I'm just going to put shorting junk.
And Andy, I went ahead and dropped the Turbo Up family, no resistance, along with the Compare Count family, so that people want to give those windows a test drive, kick the tires. You have those links as well.
Okay. Let me see. Those might be, the last one is, let me look. I put shorting junk, but I think Jamie may have gotten, Jamie got his in on top of mine, so I think mine's the bottom one there.
Correct.
But anyway, you can just click on those links, guys, and you'll have them. But very impressive window here that you guys can play around with, and find some opportunity on the short side if you so wish. All right, well, that's about it. We're running out of time here, guys. I'm gonna hold off this the chart request, guys. We only have a couple of minutes left, and I'm gonna bring. Oh, you're welcome, Mike and Waleed. You guys are all welcome. Where do I look for the links? Robert, you can find the links in the chat, and in your GoToWebinar interface, you should have like a little control panel, and one of these sections will be called chat. If you can just pop that window open, you'll see some cloud links in there, and just grab them. All right. Well, Scott, if you're handy, you guys hang on. Scott's going to offer you a code here. So let me present it.
Hey, Andy, did you have the layout file or the cloud link you could drop in for that crypto channel?
You know what? Let me go ahead and do that.
Okay,
I think I have
a couple people asking for it. If you just
no
generate
problem.
that cloud link, no problem.
Let me do that. There we go. Now you're going to have to get.
Oh yeah, it's got the list in there, right?
Yeah, that's okay. I can shoot me an email. I'm going to go ahead and drop this in, and just shoot me an email, guys, if you want the list of those stocks. Just send it to Andy at trade-ideas.com, and I'll send you a list because you're going to need the stocks to put in that if you want to follow the Bitcoin and blockchain stocks. And remember, you're probably not going to have access to the data on the ones that trade on the Canadian and the OTC. So hopefully, if we get a channel in the future, which I think we probably will, we'll have it in there for you, but you will not have it. Unfortunately. All right, but just send me an email, guys, and I'll bring Scott in. Scott, are you around? And we will.
Yeah, thank you. We a couple items. We have a new podcast coming out tomorrow, so make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Go into whatever application you listen to podcasts with, and type in Trade Ideas Podcast, hit search, and subscribe. We'll have a new one for you tomorrow and another one next week before the Christmas break, and then we're back in January. So do subscribe and get the newest episodes, and then listen to last week's too before this week's comes out. There's some really good discussion last week, and you don't want to miss it as long as we're talking about blockchain stuff. You want to hear Jamie's wisdom. Listen to last week's ep. Go to tradeIdeas.com/price and use the code HollyCookies, all caps, just like you see it. It is case sensitive, to take 15% off your first month or year of any of our subscriptions, and they all include a full hour of one-on-one training with Andy or Jamie or Steve or John, any of our master educators there. Make sure to take advantage of that full hour of training. It is a really great way to get a head start, in addition to watching our videos and going to the trading room and attending our webinars and all that kind of good info. You can download this slide and some of the other slides if you go to the handouts panel on your GoToWebinar interface and expand that and then download using the blue link for the PDF there. If you have any questions, email us info@trade-ideas.com. That goes directly into the help desk software, so you get routed to the right person. But if you just want to shoot Andy an email, Andy@trade-ideas.com, and Jamie is jhodge@trade-ideas.com. You can follow Steve Gomez at QuantBot. Steve Gomez at Today Trader. Follow Jamie Hodge at QuantBot. He's got all kinds of good stuff. He posts to Twitter. Make sure you're following us on Facebook if you use the Facebooks. Thanks all. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Jamie. We'll have the recording up later on.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everybody, for your fine words in there. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, and tune in tomorrow to the support webinar if you have questions or anything.
Yes.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.